So in this video, we'll see how to render a list in your React application. So here I already have a Next.js application up and running. For the sake of this tutorial, I'll create one more component here called list. So I'll go to components folder. I'll add a folder called list. Inside list, I'll add one more file called list.tsx. Right now, inside list.tsx, I'll just create a component called list that will be accepting now this list component will accept an array of data. So I'll give a name as items here, right? So items will be passed as prop to this particular component. Now once we have the items and all, I'll simply return the list from here. So what we'll be doing in here is we'll be iterating our items. So we can go like, we'll just create a curly brace here. First we'll just return inside, we'll just create a curly brace here and we'll iterate our items dot map. Inside we'll get the particular item, and for each item we also need to define a type on this thing. For the time being, I'll give it any. And once we are iterating about this thing, so based on whatever items we are passing into this thing, we'll show a list. Let's say an li, and we'll render the item here, right? So I'll just save this thing and we'll call this list component inside our index page. I'll just comment out the existing code here. I'll add list, right? We'll just run the project from here, pm run dev. I'll just save the changes. So once the project is up and running, we should be able to see something at least. So it's an error, list is not defined, so we just need to import this thing here. Okay, we just added list from here and we just need to import list from here. So I think we haven't exported the list here. We'll just export the list, right? Once this is done, we'll go here and we'll try to import it here. We click here and import it. I'll save this thing and you can see items map is not a function, so it's expecting something called a list. So I'll just pass a list items as an array 1, 2, 3, right? I'll just save this thing, and so this is a props that is being passed from here. This needs to be destructured when it comes in here, so it should be like this. So we need to return this thing, so we are not returning this thing, so we'll just return and we'll just paste this thing. Now it should be working fine. I'll just save it and you should be able to see we are getting the list here as 1, 2 and 3. So this is basically how you pass the data to, like how you render a particular list here. We'll just go a bit more further from here. So currently we pass in some hard-coded data. Instead of this thing, what I'll be doing is I'll just fetch some data from an API endpoint. For that we'll be using something called JSON placeholder APIs. So I'll just go to JSON placeholder online APIs. As you can see, we have something called users endpoint which we can query. So I'll just go to my index page and I'll add a use effect here. So once your component has initialized, I'll be making an API call to fetch some data, which will give me some data which I can show inside my list. So I'll just go to fetch data and we just call fetch data here. Okay, inside, now let's try to fetch some data on that endpoint. So I'll be using fetch API here. I'll add the endpoint here and we'll use a wait here to fetch the data. Once you have the data from this endpoint, you can pass out the data using response.json, and that should give you the data, JSON data, and that will also require an await here. So once you have the data, you can simply set the data to data field using this data. Okay, so once you have this thing, that will get passed to this item. Now one more thing, so this is not a valid thing, right? So we are simply trying to render everything here. So instead of this, we need to render something called name or username, etc. So I'll just have it like item dot name, and that should render the names in a list here. So yeah, so I hope you find this video useful. In this video we saw how to render a list in React. We saw how to fetch some data from an API endpoint and to pass that data to a list component here, where we are rendering or using map to iterate all the data and rendering the list here. So I hope you find this video useful. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.